Hello readers and writers, I'm MJ, and today we're doing the Ringing in the New Year book tag. So I want to thank Bookstalgic for tagging me to do this video. Also the original creator, Bookmark Chronicles. I will link both of their channels down below so that you can check them out. And I'm very excited to do this tag, and it's perfect timing because this should be coming out on New Year's Day, and what better than a New Year's video for ringing in the new year. So there are 8 questions below that kind of review my reading for 2023 as well as plans for 2024. The questions will all be down in my description below so that you can see them and do the tag yourself if you wish. So the first question is best book or series in 2023. So I have a lot of videos that are going to come out that are looking at my best of for 2023. So I don't want to get into any of those books. Instead, I want to use this question to kind of feature a series that I didn't talk about in any of those, or I will not be talking about in any of those videos. And that is the Surviving the City series. This is a graphic novel by Indigenous writers and illustrator, and I found it when I was specifically asking for Two-Spirit representation in Indigenous works. To the best of my knowledge, the writer and illustrator are not Two-Spirit and potentially not even queer themselves. The first book in this series isn't queer. It deals a lot with perspective being an Indigenous from a high school perspective, and it was a really great graphic novel all on its own. And the second book in this series then brings in a lot of aspects of being queer and Indigenous. Specifically, it looks a lot at being Two-Spirit and Indigenous. And it was a fantastic read. So I definitely highly recommend the series to anyone. I got them off of Hoopla. They're definitely ones I would like to eventually get up to put on my shelf. There's only 2 volumes. It took me less than a day to read both of them, but they both were extremely impactful for me. Question 2 is authors that you discovered in 2023 that you want to read more of. I have a lot of these, and I could probably go on about them in an entire video, so I just have limited it to 4 separate authors. The first one is Ursula K. Le Guin. I read my first Ursula K. Le Guin novel in 2023, and in 2024, I'm now planning to read a good majority of everything that she has written, and I'm very excited about that. So that's going to be its whole series and its whole thing, and if you want to follow along on the journey, I have put a separate discussion in my Discord, so you can join me there and to discuss about Ursula K. Le Guin. Another author that I discovered was Dean Brin. They're a non-binary autistic author that is indie published, and I plan on reading a few more of their novels in 2024. I've read 2 and a short story, I think, in them in 2023. They're a little bit more romance-based than I prefer, but I do really like them, and I obviously like the tone that they use to write, so I'm very excited about that. Also, Angela Boulay, I might be saying that wrong. I read Firekeeper's Daughter and was just blown away by the book. And I know the sequel to it is out, and I absolutely want to pick that up in 2024. As soon as I'm done with the Read What You Own challenge, that's going to be one I pick up, if I don't get it from the library before then. But that Firekeeper's Daughter was just, I wasn't expecting the impact that it would have, especially when I first started it, but it was fantastic, and I'm very excited to see what the sequel's like as well, because I've heard it's fantastic also. And then another new author for me is Andrew Joseph White. He is a trans author that is also autistic, and I read both of his books in 2023. Hell Followed With Us was great, trans rep, very YA, and a little more gruesome than I would personally prefer. But The Spirit Pierces Teeth is amazing. I mean, absolutely astonishingly amazing. The autism / trans rep in it just kind of blew me away. It was so well done, and I related so much to it. It is also a YA novel, but even though the main characters are 16, they didn't really read YA to me, so I think it could really go either way. I don't think it'd be inappropriate for a young adult to read, but I think as an adult it still really resonated with me beyond the being YA. And it was just done in such a good way. It is still a horror book, but I think the gruesomeness was toned down just to the point where you could kind of use your own imagination and make it as gruesome or as not gruesome as you like. And while it's still covering really hard hitting topics, and absolutely phenomenal book and amazing writer, and I can't wait to see where he goes from here. Question 3 is the best book turned movie TV adaptation. Without a doubt, this is Lessons in Chemistry. I picked this up on a whim at Target. I had gone back and forth between reading it, mostly just because I'd seen it, not because I really knew what it was about. And then I read the description in Target, and I was like, okay, yeah, I want this. And then I brought it home and read it again, and I was like, I don't know why I picked this up. But I did it. I read it, and I loved the book. And so when Apple TV came out, I started watching it also. It was a great adaptation to the point where I have watched. I need to watch it again. I became so emotional because I know what was happening, and it became a lot, and so I put it on pause. But I will finish it. I do think the TV series is phenomenal, but it became a lot for me, so I do need to repick it back up. So question 4 is asking, has your reading habits changed in 2023? And yes, one of the biggest changes in my reading habits is to purposely read more indie authors. And I'm not going to lie, this started out really slow for me. Partly because I have such a huge TBR, the books I own that are traditionally published, and partly just changing my mindset and seeking out indie authors. But it's phenomenal how I have changed over the course of 2023 to the point where more than half of my TBR for January of 2024 are indie books that I'm very excited about reading. So it's a great change for me, one purposefully done, so that I can celebrate more indie authors. I'm not going to ever stop reading trad published books because I don't think I need to, but I do want to balance out and support other indie authors, because just because a book is indie published does not mean it's not amazing. And I know the difficulty that indie authors face of just getting people to even pick up our books, because they think they're bad just because they're indie published. And obviously not everyone. Also, if you're watching this, if you're watching my channel, that you are at least partially an indie reader. But yeah, so definitely a lot more indie books that I am reading. And I'm finding more indie books that aren't romance based, because when I first started looking, so many of them were romance based, which I'm just not a romance reader. There's nothing wrong with that or anything like that. It's just finding indie books that are my preference, and I have, and so that is exceptional to me. And then also, I think just this balance of reading and like working from home and just trying to find the format that best works for me. I, in the past, have got so much reading done because I've read audiobooks, and then I kind of almost completely shut audiobooks off when we first started, like during the pandemic. And it wasn't anything purposely done, it's just life had changed so much that I had just found myself not reading them as much. And now I'm trying to bring audiobook reading back into my reading schedule because by reading audiobooks, you can do so many other things. You play video games, you can do chores, and just consciously choosing to also read audiobooks, but also purposely making the time to sit down and read physical books as well. Because I like seeing, as a writer, I like seeing the words on the page to kind of like analyze the writing style as much as I like hearing the books in audiobooks to analyze the writing style that way also. So I don't think, unless life circumstances changes, that I will ever want to just read in one format. I think it's valuable to read in multiple formats. Question 5 is your favorite ship, platonic or romantic, of 2023. I'm very aromantic and asexual, so I don't necessarily relate to a lot of the relationships that happen in books. I tolerate them. So going through all the books that I read, I'm going to answer this one honestly, which might be seen as cheating, but the best relationship for me in 2023 was in a book I wrote, The Immortal Part of Myself, and is the relationship between Maddie and Riley. And it is a sapphic queer platonic relationship where Maddie is Maddie's queer and has very strong romantic feelings for Riley, and Riley does not, but is just kind of dealing with her own traumatic experience, as well as actually being given a safe space to figure out who she is, and that she is genderqueer, and just like at the start of her own journey to figure out who she is, but then actually having a choice about engaging in a relationship, something that had never been a choice before, and choosing to not. That she really does not want that kind of relationship, and so they develop this queer platonic relationship, a very, very close relationship that is not based on romance or friendship, or is based on friendship, but it's not based on romance or relations. And I know I wrote this relationship, but it still lives with me, even though, like, I feel like I wrote some good relationship in neurodiverse also, but for some Maddie and Riley's relationship, I still like carry around in my soul, if that makes sense. And so yeah, I know this answer may be a little bit of a cop-out, but it's the truth. For me, that's still the most impactful relationship in a book. It did come out this year. Alright, question number 6. Have you started planning your TBR for 2024, and how many books do you hope to read? So my reading goal has not changed for the last, 5 years or so. or maybe it's been slightly modified. My reading goal always stays consistently at 100 books. Because that's something I can reasonably obtain without really stressing about too much. I usually go over it. Actually, I've always gone over it since making it my goal, and that's great. So I don't ever have to worry about it. Once I reach it, I don't increase my goal. I consider my goal reached. I have added in a page goal since I started using Storygraph to track my books, and that is 40,000 pages, which usually I don't reach until after I've reached my book goal. And that's just a way to make sure for me that I'm not like shying away from the big books. I can't say that it has exactly worked, but it's something I want to work on for 2024. It's just not worrying so much about quantity. And TBR, I mean, I've already kind of talked about a few things. Definitely want to read more indie books. I do have my January TBR planned already, so that announcement video is already out. Also, Ursula K. Le Guin in 2024, which I've even mentioned multiple times in this video. Beyond that, not so much. I still am finishing up the Read What You Own challenge. I'm trying to focus a lot on getting my physical books out. I'm going to start a new series focused specifically on cleaning out my TBR, starting with my physical TBR. So that's a lot of what I want to read or just go through this year. And so there's a lot of my focus, but still leaving room for, you know, just making sure I'm enjoying what I'm reading. And that's the most important thing for me. And question 7 is, will you participate in any reading challenges or readathons? And yes, absolutely. In January, I am participating in the Clean Out Your Kindle Kobo Clean Out readathon, which is part of the Read What You Own challenge. I'm very excited about this because there's a lot of ebooks on, well, my Kindle and my Kobo that I really want to read, although I'm mostly focusing on Kindle books this round. I also am hosting the 24 and 24 indie readathon that will last through all of 2024. So I hope y'all will join me on that. If you are participating, please tag me in your videos or in your social media posts so that I can engage with them and also help promote them because I'm very excited about that. And also the Ursula K. Le Guin read-along, which readathon, which I guess I'm doing personally. I do plan on picking up some readathons through the months. I'm not entirely sure which ones I plan on participating in. We'll see how it goes, depending on how the year goes. I am really thinking about starting a readathon in April that features autistic authors, but I'm not sure how that will look. So if that's something that would interest you, please let me know down below, because it's something I really want to do, but I need people to participate in it for it to be successful. But yeah, so that's kind of an idea that I have going around. But I absolutely want to participate in as many other readathons as I can. But we'll see how the year goes. And question 8 is any New Year's resolutions or goals. And I have a whole separate video really talking about my goals for 2024, my writing goals, some personal goals, my reading goals. So I don't want to go into that so much, where you can just go and watch that video. But yeah, I've got writing. I'm working on a series, my very first series, that's going to be a little different than what I've written so far. So I'm going to focus on that, writing a lot more short stories. I have a very exciting announcement in January that's going to be coming out, so I'm very excited about that. In connection with a group of writers that I socialize with, connect with. So definitely stay tuned for that. And reading wise, I mean, nothing really I haven't already talked about. Indie reading, Ursula K. Le Guin, just kind of, you know, cleaning out my TBR. I mean, like all of that I've kind of already gone over. I will tag a few booktubers down below, but if you are interested in doing this tag, please consider yourself tagged. It is a very interesting tag, and I would love to see your responses. So as always, keep reading, keep writing, and until next time.